For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, we are live and amplified. So let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome, everybody, to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we are back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a return special guest. We have Emily Gabriele. How's it going today, Emily?
Going good. How goes it over there? I know you have some Sudafed on deck, so.
Oh, yes.
Okay, at best.
It's happening. You know, we got the wildfires, and with the dry wind and the severe drought, it's rough. But, you know, I chose to live here in Texas, so I'm dealing with it the best way I can. So
I can do it. It's all you can do. How was your day? Did you listen to anything good? Read anything good? What'd you consume?
I went down a weird rabbit hole of old school YouTube videos.
Oh, like old school. What type of YouTube videos? Like
I started with Chocolate Rain from back in the day.
Okay.
I was driving home from work. It was about 5 o'clock or so. I got home about 5:30, 5:45. And I just started getting that melody in the back of my head. I was like, huh. And I'm like, wait a minute, why is this in my head? And I went and typed in Chocolate Rain and it popped right up. And I'm like, okay. So I started watching that. And then it was like Greatest Freak Out Ever popped up. Or World's Greatest Freak Out, whatever it's called, and then End of the World, you know, just like all this litany of high school memories popped up. So
There you go.
but yeah, how about yourself? You listen to anything good or?
Did I listen to anything good? You know, I was listening a little bit to the Alabama Shakes today. Yeah, that's kind of what sticks out to me. Did some reading, and yeah, that's what my day was from a consumption standpoint. I've been playing Wordle every morning. I don't know if I'm on the bandwagon. Pre and post New York Times acquisition. I'm in it. I'm trying to remember today's word. I think I got it in 5 or 6 guesses. It was one of those words that like there were too many combos, so I guessed wrong a few times, which led me to like guess on one of the last options. Do you play Wordle?
I am so bad at Wordle that I played for about a week, and each day it was like I never got the word. Like one day I might have gotten it, but just like a complete guess. I am so bad at.
It's so intimidating. You open it up and it's just like, what is it? 30 blank black squares. And you're like, what do I do with this? Like, there's no hints, there's no nothing. And then I remember the first time I tried it, I'm like, what do I do? Right. Like, how many 5-letter words are there in the English language? And I mean, I would go out on a limb and say there's a lot, right? So it's like.
And then I started putting 2 and 2 together. I was like, okay, I put in a 5-letter word, and then I wouldn't get any like matches or anything like that. I'm like, okay. And in my head, I'm thinking like, I'm going to have to guess cold every time. Like, it's not going to tell me if I've got letters right or anything. Right. Yeah. And it was just one of those situations where I happened to have like the worst first word. And it's like, you didn't get anything. And then I put in the second word and it gave me like a yellow and a green. And I'm like, okay, I don't know the difference, but I'll figure it out. And
I'm getting there. Context clues.
Yep. So luckily I'm smart enough to figure that out. But I did for a good minute. There was a spinoff of Wordle called Loodle. And it was like the adult version of Wordle.
Like LEWD, like lewd, LE, Loodle. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I was sitting there because I saw a joke about it or something somewhere. And they're like, oh, yeah, check out the adult version. And I'm like, all right, I went to the app store. It wasn't in the app store. And I'm like, okay, it must not be real. And then I typed it into Google and it popped up. And I'm like, okay, let's see what this is all about. I typed in a word and I'm like, All right, I'm already better at this one than I was Wordle.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I wish you never told me. Oh my gosh. What? No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing. That's funny.
It's just one of those things where I'm like, all right, cool.
My Wordle spinoff is Hurdle, like
Okay.
kind of like a name that tune. So like plays you a second of a song and you have to try and guess it. And I got that one today, and probably because if you don't get it in the first like second, instead of guessing, you can just skip to hear more of the song. Yeah. And I did get it today. I think it took me probably like 3 skips to get the song.
Is it an app that you can get on the App Store, or do you have to go to like the web?
It's a browser based, just like Wordle itself. Is Wordle an app? I thought I play it in my browser.
Yeah, Wordle. They do have an app for Wordle now,
Okay.
but it's not the same. It's formatted a little bit differently. Like it's not one a day or whatever it is.
Okay.
So you could like continually play.
Oh, interesting.
And see how far you can get. So
okay, cool.
At least that's what I took away from it. But like I said, I'm not that big into Wordle.
You're not a Wordle guy. You're a Loodle guy.
Yeah.
Whatever that. You know, Tom, I won't ask any more questions on that. I'll let that fizzle out.
Let that be what it is. But I might have to go check out Hurdle. Like that sounds like a fun.
Yeah, I think you'll like that. I think you'll appreciate that as a music fan.
Yes, for sure. But really excited to have you on the podcast. Really excited to talk about all the new music you've been releasing. I think we decided it's been about 2 years. A lot's changed. A lot's going on. Last time we had you on, it was during the height of the pandemic. You were sitting in the back of your apartment house in New York City. And
where was I when we talked? If it was the height of the pandemic, I might have been at my mom's house in New Jersey, and like the suburbs of Jersey, honestly.
You were sitting out in the backyard, and it was kind of wild.
That was definitely my mom's house. That was
you were in New Jersey then.
Yeah.
So, and now you're a full-time resident out in New Jersey. What's been going on lately?
Yeah. So I made the move. I'm in Jersey City. Yeah, I know it's so crazy to like reflect on 2020. I know that's like everyone probably has that sentiment or has had that thought. Oh, yeah. But I'm like, we were Windexing our groceries and like selling toilet paper for $47 a roll. Like that's wild to think about now when everyone's like, should I wear a mask? Should I not wear a mask? So much has changed, and it's like, well, duh, of course. Like that's the only thing constant is change. But just to think that we were like, again, toilet paper almost as valuable as like, at the time, like a gallon of oil, whatever, a tank of oil, you're like $47 for a thing of toilet paper. I'm saying in jest, but you get the picture. It was just an interesting time. I guess we're kind of, I don't even know, like, do you think we're on the other side of it? I feel like the pandemic is still here. But the virus is still here. Maybe it's better put like that. We don't have to talk about the virus too much.
It's to me, it's not the topic of conversation anymore.
Yeah.
And just that it's not the topic of conversation. Obviously, there's other things going on in the world, and
right.
So that's just kind of my perspective on it. It's like we still need to be aware of it, like the flu.
Right.
The flu's always going to be there, but
yeah.
After the last strain or whatever, it was just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, it's wild to think about. And again, we don't even have to waste any more airtime or brain power or, vocalization of it. But anyway, that's where I was. I was in the suburbs of New Jersey. What a wild time. Happy that it's 2022. And I've been putting out a bunch of music. So should I talk about the project?
We can jump into it. So you're dropping a new full-length album at the end of May, right around my birthday. So I'm excited about that.
When's your birthday?
May 31st.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I guess 4 days before your birthday. That's my early birthday gift to you. I knew that's when your birthday was. So I was like, I got to find a Friday. And then, so early birthday gift to you.
Awesome. I appreciate it. And actually, that's also the same weekend that we're going to try and launch that secret project I was telling you about.
Ooh, okay.
So,
Secret.
yep. So, it is what it is. But I've enjoyed listening to the singles that you have out already for it. Like all these singles, Talking to Strangers. And what was the most recent one that just dropped the other day or not too long ago?
Freedom, I think is what you're talking
Freedom.
about.
All those are leading up to the album. They're going to be on the album.
Yeah. So, well, thanks for checking them out. And yeah, so the album that's going to be released in full on May 27th, it's actually going to be a track list of eight. And what I'm doing is every 2 weeks, I started March 4th and I'm ending on May 27th. I'm releasing a track off of the album every 2 weeks, every other Friday, to kind of build, so you can build the album along with me. And if you are following me on social media and on Instagram is where I've been just kind of posting all these different components that make up each track. So you can truly kind of like build the album alongside me as I'm releasing it, to kind of get a little bit more like of the story behind each track and things like that.
Gotcha. I must say, I did really enjoy the way you were kind of subtly promoting talking to strangers on like Instagram stories and whatnot. You were asking people, do you like talking to strangers and whatnot? that was kind of a really cool way to bring it up and get people talking about, do I like talking to strangers? And then you drop a song, Talking to Strangers, which is, since that was kind of like the debut single for this album, why did you choose that song specifically to kind of kick everything off?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Tom, do you like talking to strangers?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'll ask why in a second, but I'll answer your question first. So the reason I chose that as the lead single, it's actually on the album. It's number 3 in the track list, but that song is just, it's fun. It has a good feel, good energy to it. I think that it's a song that I wrote quite some time ago. And I had candidly, I worked with a few different producers and said like, hey, I'm working on a song, and we started to collaborate, and something about it, like it wasn't sitting right. And that's no disrespect or disregard to any of the collaborators. I was like, that's not really how I'm hearing the song. That's not how I'm hearing the song. And the irony is like, I don't think I actually knew exactly how I was hearing the song, but that just wasn't it kind of thing. It's like, you're trying to shirt, and then you put one, and don't know what you're looking for, and then you put one on, and you're like, oh, this is it. And you didn't know you were looking for, the silk chiffon or whatever. But anyway, so finally found a producer that I collaborated with, and we worked through the song, and I'm like, this is it. Like, this is the version. This is what the song needs. And I love it so much. So that's why it was the first song. It's very it has a good groove to it, pretty upbeat. So yeah, that's kind of the, not the most in-depth reason behind it, but it just feels good and has a good groove to it.
That's the most important reason though. As long as it feels good, nothing else really matters.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it was just kind of like that groove, that the instrumental. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
Part of me thinks it just kind of reminded me of growing up in the 90s.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, it just feels like it sits in my comfort zone of music.
Yeah. So. That do. Yeah, I got this thing right here with like I think the
Yep.
Yeah, that little, played on the bass, but
yeah, it's a great song. I really enjoy it, and it's just kind of sits in that comfort zone of music for me. It reminds me of growing up as a kid in the 90s. It's just got that 90s feel to it, at least to me. I don't know, maybe other people feel different, but
I love that. I love it. I'm glad that it resonates with you, and I'm glad that it feels good to you too.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And when I saw you promoting it, I was just kind of like, okay, I'm curious to see where this goes. And then once the song dropped, it's like, Okay, I get it. Yes. Perfect.
Yeah. And we're at, I think like, we're over 1,000 streams on Spotify, which, super proud of. It's been out for less than a month. So that's, a good feeling to know that people are listening, liking, streaming, all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, you dropped Freedom 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it would have been 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm a little less familiar with Freedom, but it's definitely a good song. It's I don't listen to it as much as Talking to Strangers, but
You'll listen after this. I know it.
yeah. And then, of course, you got the new single dropping tomorrow, as per your 2 weeks leading up to the full length album.
Yep, you got it.
What's the song dropping tomorrow?
Yeah. So song dropping tomorrow is called No Mind. And I actually wrote this one. So there's a studio space around here called JC Studios, Jersey City Studios, and it's a practice space. And I have a songwriter pal that works there and that I get along well with. And we were messing around in the studio, just jamming, and we wound up kind of semi-writing this song, like the semblance, the starting works of No Mind. And then his name is Jason Morales. He goes by @Uncle Music on Instagram. And so we wrote it, and then we're kind of like, okay, cool. Kind of had some semblance. And then we were going back, then the pandemic hit, we were going back and forth on email, and he had put together like a demo of it. And he was singing it. And then I was like, you know what, I'm putting together this album. And I really, really like that song. So talked to him, said, hey, do you mind if I take a crack at keeping this thing moving? And I wound up, working with the same producer that worked on Freedom and Talking to Strangers. His name is Chris Clark. And that's kind of the story behind that song. And I really like the vibe of No Mind. I really like the, I'm biased. I wrote it or co-wrote it with Jason, but I like the story behind it. I think that I'm intrigued to hear feedback from listeners. I can't wait to hear what you think about it. I think it might make you be like, huh. So you're gonna have to text me tomorrow and let me know, or email me, whatever, and tell me your thoughts.
For sure. As I was kind of prepping for this thing, I saw the pre-save link. I was like, okay, that's how I'm not going to miss this song. Pre-save.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
It's definitely really exciting the fact that you got the full-length album dropping the end of May.
Yep. Your birthday present.
Yep, my early birthday present. We've already decided that. So you had started working on this album in theory prior to the pandemic, right? If you would start, or were you just writing songs at that point?
Yeah. So I started writing this in 2020, really started thinking, okay, I want to do an entire album during the pandemic. That's when I met Chris Clark, who I produced and co-wrote the entire project with. So it's interesting to think of this being a timestamp of the pandemic, because some parts of it are very much a product, an expounding of the pandemic itself. And then some parts of it are songs that were written before and I just really liked and wanted to give them a home and therefore put them on the album.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. That's, it's wild to think that the pandemic has spurred so many things out of control.
Totally.
And messed up the release of music. And, like last time we talked, you had just released, I think it was Monday.
Yeah, you got it, Monday. Yep. I put that out during 2020.
Yeah, it was between that and then there was another song I think after that came out. And so I know you had like some big hopes and aspirations coming out after that, and then of course this album drops, or this upcoming album came in the works. So I'm really excited about that. How did you go through the process of kind of selecting the songs specifically? Yeah,
that's a great question. So, if the nucleus in a way is talking to strangers, simply because I had written that and I really liked the song, and I found, Chris, and he worked his magic, and we wound up with a really great version that we were both very happy with. Then from there, a few of the other songs again were already written, and then some other ones wrote themselves as a result of feelings, experiences during the pandemic. So that's how it kind of all came to be. I think that once the full album is released, I think it will be evident the kind of shift in narrative or emotion, or like the turning point. And I think it's kind of cool to have art be this timestamp of a sentiment, an experience, a feeling. I mean, I recently read this collection of essays by Zadie Smith called Intimations. And she chronicles her time in New York City as the pandemic was setting in. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, like that is, that will live as almost an anachronism when, 50 years out, someone comes back and is revisiting art that was made during this global pivotal time. Yep. I'm not comparing myself to Zadie Smith by any means, but I'm giving an example of art that I consumed that was a timestamp of that period. So yeah, I'm excited to just put it out into the world, because as you know, being a creator, it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort. And I'm not like, wow, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of work. And it's nice to have a platform and an audience to be excited along with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's looking back at everything. I kind of wish I'd have done more things that were time stamped.
Sure.
As far as like to kind of remember, but just like watching all these musicians like yourself, just put themselves in the moment. It's been really incredible. And the fact that you have this album that kind of came out of a very dark time, whether intended or not, like that definitely could probably be a debate we have for forever, but
right.
It's really cool. And I'm glad that you were able to get this album together and release, and you're just in the process of releasing it, which it's cool that you're doing it single by single, because that kind of plays into the cultural norm, I guess, right now, like what everybody else seems to be doing. And the fact that you're just kind of assembling the album as it goes and people can kind of collect it. Was that the original idea, or did you want to originally like release it as a full length, or as like a
yeah, all at once? Yeah, no, that's such a good question. And I mean, I toyed with like, how am I going to release this? I think that as one of my like the essence of myself is being a storyteller, is being a writer. And because of that, I think that highlighting the story and the creation of each individual track to me feels relevant, and I mean, dare I say, important. And I'm sure, actually, I'm not sure. I don't know how every artist feels, because obviously I'm not every artist, and I haven't asked every artist how they feel on this topic. But to that point, I think that the building of the project feels very relevant, because every song has its own story. And I think that, to your point of like, it's relevant to the times, the current, streaming atmosphere makes it so, it makes it so easy to release it track by track. Yeah. So it kind of just, to me, kind of one hand feeds the other. It's relevant to the times and how music is being released and consumed. And it also is relevant to me as a writer, as a storyteller that cares so, deeply of the story behind each track.
Yeah. All right. Once everything is released, so the end of May, are you looking at doing like hard copies like vinyl? I see you got your record player sitting back there.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, Tom. What should I do? Should I put out I go back and forth. I'm like, should I put out a vinyl? I mean, CDs are Obsolete? I don't know. I mean, they're not obsolete. I know it's dramatic, but like, what would I put out?
So like, I mean, I 100% agree. CDs are just kind of not really a thing, like a thing that I worry about anymore, at least because up until like starting back in December, I don't own a CD player anymore. Like I ended up, my car died on me, so I had to buy a new car, and my new car doesn't have a CD player. So it's just kind of like, okay, so now I've got all these demo CDs that can't really play. But like you, I have a nice little record player sitting over here, and it's like,
Right.
I wish more bands would do vinyl, but I understand that there's a cost and a
Yeah.
barrier to entry there. So it's just kind of like, yeah, I want you to produce vinyl, but will the other viewers, other listener, like your other supporters, will they support that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's something to consider. I mean, in terms of, you know, excuse me, merch in general, I haven't had the vinyl pressed yet.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll put out like a poll on Instagram and ask, would you want an Omega Man vinyl, and maybe let the let the crowd decide that in a way. But speaking of, I am I did, speaking of Instagram and merch and polls, I did this. I know that you were voting and observing, Tom.
Yeah.
I did this poll of these different candles, right? So I teamed up with this local candle maker called Suele, Sule, and the E has an accent on top of it. And I was like, hey, I want to make a custom scent, custom masculine scent, masculine leaning scent to be merch for my album Omega Man.
Yeah.
And she was like, great. So gave her a bunch of scents that I was interested in. And she like worked her magic, mixed and matched all these scents, brought me 5 different samples. And she's like, smell them while they're cold and burn them, see what you're feeling. So I picked one out. And then I also, kind of crowdsourced and sourced the crowd and said, hey, what scents do you want to see? And then I wound up getting these candles made, which I have one sitting right here. So they're called Omega Man is the name of the candle, and the scent is patchouli, amber, and bourbon. So in terms of merchandise to sell around the project, this is definitely going to be something I'm selling. So maybe I'll add vinyls. Maybe I'll do the poll thing on Instagram and see what we're working with.
And it's definitely one of those things where if vinyl's only worth it if it's a full project. Like if you're doing an EP, just keep it digital or maybe press a CD. Like there's still people out there that do the CD thing. But for me, a vinyl, I want the full story. I want a full experience. If I put it on my record player, I want to sit there and just be in the moment and not, that. But I did want to talk about the candles and like that whole thing, because I remember back when about 4 years ago, I tried to make live and amplified candles because what had happened was I had bought a bunch of 45s, just like I had just got my record player and I was like, okay, I want to just start experiencing new music. And on eBay, records quite hadn't started picking up steam yet. So they were selling like lots of 45s. So you could get for like $10, like 50 records.
Cool.
And you're just kind of getting a bunch of randomness. You never knew what you really got. Sometimes they would tell you, oh, hey, I sent you a rock pack or whatever, like whatever it is. And so I got all these 45s and they were like demo albums or, radio cuts or, like whatever it is, but they were all scratched and like none of them were playable. I'm like, okay, I just spent $20 or whatever it was. I can't do anything with these. And I was looking at one while I was making dinner one day and I left it on the stovetop and it started to melt.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm like, all right, that's interesting. And somehow I came up with this idea to use that as a candle base, like a thing to hold the candle or like to hold wax in. And I went to the Michaels or whatever, bought wax and started doing this. Making candles is not easy. That's literally serendipity, right? You like
accidentally left something somewhere, and then and you're like, hey, that sparks an idea.
Yeah. And I tried to do it for like 5 or 6 months, but I could never get the candle to stay lit. It always just put itself out for some reason.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was like lack of oxygen, what 800 possible outcomes,
Yeah.
And then I just kind of stopped doing it just because it's like, okay, I ran out of vinyl, I'm good. So I tried. So,
well, I mean, to be clear, I did not have more of these candles. I just worked on the set. I had the vision and was assistive in executing. Adiola is the name of the woman that owns Swelly Candles, and she was very, open to collaborating, and she is the candle maker herself. So, she is the talent behind the idea. I'm simply the one that came with the idea. So
nice. That's awesome. And it's a nice outside of the box way to look at promoting your music and merchandising your music. Like, so that's really cool. And when do you officially start selling those, or are they already?
Yeah. So great question. I'm going to start selling them. So I have an album release concert on Saturday, April 9th at the Bowery Electric in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And that's going to be where I first start selling the candles. If you're at the show and you want to buy one, they will be there for purchase. Otherwise, I'm going to put them for sale online. So it'll be after that show. So yeah, I mean, I guess, in terms of when they'll launch, I'll say like sometime in April, because I'll get them up and for sale after the show. But the first opportunity to buy them will be in person on Saturday, April 9th, Bowery Electric.
Nice.
Yeah.
I wish I could be there, but
you're a little ways away. But you can, if you're interested, you can purchase one online once they're for sale.
Awesome. I will be sure to do that. I've been trying to make my apartment more of a home, and so
I wish you had smell of it, because these smell like, I mean, I'm biased obviously, but I think they smell really great. So
awesome. I will have to get my hands on one as soon as they become available. So and so the name of the album's Omega Man, which we talked a little bit beforehand, is a tribute to your father. How much do you want to go into that?
Yeah. No, happy to talk about it. So, when my father passed, in October of 2019. So just over 2 years ago. And at his funeral, I actually was talking to one of his lifelong friends, and he told me that his nickname was Omega Man. Like, my dad's nickname amongst friends was Omega Man. Source of truth, kind of last word thing. They'd be playing baseball on the street or whatever, and they'd argue, is the ball in? Is it out? Is it? Oh, ask Omega Man. Like, he'll tell us, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I really like, stuck to that story. And it's very much how I remember my dad, as somebody that was a man of ethics, and integrity. So, so that's the name, the story behind the name, excuse me. And that's really kind of the quick, succinct summation of the reason behind the name.
Gotcha. That's awesome that you attributed it to him. I know we talked earlier about him, as we kind of related over that, as both having recently, within the last few years, lost a very close loved one. So thank you for sharing that. And, it's great that you were able to tribute this album to him. And it's a bummer of a thing to relate over. The unfortunate part is there are many others that can relate to the sentiment of losing a loved one, losing a parent. It's unfortunate, but it's honest. Yeah, it really is. So once again, I'm going to continue to say it. Omega Man coming at the end of May. and you got your release party in April. Why did you kind of decide to have the release party in April and not like closer to the?
Yeah. Yeah. No, great question. So what I've, again, with like the whole like build along, like building it,
Yeah.
it's right smack in the middle of releasing the project that I'm having the concert. And it's going to be like an exclusive first opportunity to hear the entire project. Like I'm going to play all the songs from the project in the live format. And then, you know, you get kind of exclusive access to the merch and everything if you come to the show. Otherwise, you know, you kind of you're getting a taste every other week. So kind of just an ongoing part of the, I guess, support and promotion of the project in general.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And do you know the release order of the rest of the songs, or is that just kind of?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. And actually, I on my Instagram, I have like one of those link consolidators in my profile, and there I created a public facing like Google Calendar that has Omega Man key dates. So it marks all of the dates and the names of the tracks associated with the dates. So No Mind is tomorrow. After that, should I say what the name of the track? Or, you know, go look at the link. Look at the link.
There you go. I was gonna say we could be here for a good minute.
Yeah. Look at the link, and you'll find out there.
Nice. So now's the time in the podcast where I put you on the spot a little bit.
Let's hear it.
Of these 8 songs, which one's your favorite to play?
You know, it changes. It changes on my mood, on the day, you name it. To play, I mean, Talking to Strangers is so fun. Freedom is so fun. No Mind is kind of like this really cool vibe, energy. Yeah, you know, it's dynamic, this cool, like give, get kind of thing for the listener in and out. It's so hard to pick a favorite. But again, varies by the day, by the mood, by the week, by the moon, you name it.
Very political answer. I appreciate that. So the show coming up in April, is this the first show for you since pandemic, or have you been playing pretty consistently?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like playing out of venue, I played outdoors at this in New Hope at Porch Fest in October of 2020. I want to say. And then I did a live stream to an empty Bowery Electric venue with just like, I think it was like 16 cameras where the crowd would be. Did a live stream there. Did some live streams at one for like this venue called Mary O's in the city. And then I played, I think that might be kind of it in terms of gigs. And yeah, so this is like the first, you know, big show back. I have some other things in the works as well, unannounced, but we're looking at some more shows in June, July, beyond, working on May, you know, so there's definitely going to be more opportunities to see me perform live. But this show at Bowery Electric is going to be a fun one.
Awesome. So I do have to ask, when I was building out the flyer to promote this, there was a photo of you playing in a caboose, it looked like.
Caboose.
And there it looked like a train caboose. And there was like maybe just a row of 10 people, 5 on each side.
Okay. With like the lights around it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So that's actually at Pete's Candy Store in Williamsburg, Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, obviously, because I was able to, you know, identify it. But yeah, it's a venue, and it used to be a convenience store, candy store. It's now like a bar music venue in Brooklyn. But yeah, super cool like vibe in there, with the lights and, you know, like the narrow, to your point, almost train car like vantage point. Because
I was sitting there, I was like, I mean, I guess that would make sense. Like, she's near New York. She could be playing in New York for all I know.
That's a cool idea. That's a really cool idea. Like playing in like a traveling train car. Not that, I don't know. Actually, one time I did see Paul McCartney in Times Square, just rolled up in I mean, there was obviously more
to
planning behind this, but to me, the onlooker, it was like Paul McCartney pulls up in the back of an 18-wheeler. They just like pull the curtains back. He plays some songs. They close the curtains and on they go. And I was like, what just happened? You know, like,
wow. That must have been when he released his last album, because I know he was doing a lot of weird stuff.
I mean, it was probably 2014.
Okay, yeah,
it was definitely around in that general vicinity, 2014, 2015, like around there. And I was like, you know, that's kind of a showstopper, if you will.
Oh yeah, it gets people's attention.
Yeah.
So you got some more shows coming up, mostly unannounced, all New York based?
Great question. Maybe. No, definitely exploring some other spots. Don't want to say too much, but have some other things in the works. Nice. And we'll see what I think this summer and this fall is going to bring a lot of live music for a lot of artists. And I intend to be a part of that live music circuit for sure.
Awesome. I know we're like, I say we as in the Live and Amplified team, we're ready to get out and travel. So we're the secret project that I've been talking about randomly throughout the last several podcasts. We're going to hit some places up. We're excited. So
yeah, and I can't wait to see that and maybe, you know, be a part of it in some capacity. And you know, you're in Texas, so just maybe I'll come through. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, and it's also one of those things where my co-host partner and all this, he's from Worcester, so we have to go right through New York to get there. I've tried every other way to get there, and no matter how you go, you got to go right through New York. So, So, and it's definitely been something on a bucket. As I said this last time, it's been on the bucket list to get to New York, and obviously with the pandemic and New York kind of being the hub of everything, it was like, nope, not going. It'll wait. So, but yeah, so once again, if you're listening now live on Twitch, or if you're listening later on the podcast on Spotify, make sure you're checking out Emily Gabriele, new album dropping the end of May, singles coming out every 2 weeks not starting, but April 1st, and then 2 weeks, just to kind of give you the frame of reference for every 2 weeks. Because I was going to sit there and try and count it down, but then I'm going to screw it up. And
calendars are tricky.
Yes, and plus math is not my strong suit. So
there you go.
So every 2 weeks, new single of the album dropping tomorrow. I know you're excited. What's kind of running through your mind right now as you're going through this whole process?
Do I have the right link up? No. I mean, you know, trying to stay as organized as possible. Actually, you know, as I said, there's a lot that goes into releasing something. Any other creator that's listening knows that there's a lot to go in. That a lot goes into creating, especially if you are actively working to promote and market what you're creating. Mm-hmm. So I think just constantly thinking like, what do I prioritize? What needs to get done tonight? What needs to get done tomorrow? What needs to get done by the end of the month, kind of thing. Yeah. So that's kind of it. Very much the admin aspect. Yeah. And then I guess some of the most fun parts or moments for me is hearing feedback from listeners, and also like practicing for the live show, you know, just singing, playing the guitar and being in a room with other extremely talented musicians. That's kind of, you know, the fun of it for right now, for sure. Cause I'm not writing as much or recording songs because I'm busy promoting the songs that I've already recorded and preparing to play them in a live format. Yeah.
Hey, is there anything that you took away from the release of Special Delivery, your last album, that you're kind of applying to this whole process?
Yeah, totally. A bunch of stuff. Yeah, I think the one big takeaway is constantly like testing and learning, trying something new, something different. I don't think there is a right or a wrong way to release music, to promote music, to play a show, play some book. Like there's no right or wrong. I think it's just like experiencing, seeing what that experience brings you, and then saying, okay, if I did that again, here's what I would do differently, or maybe I won't do that again at all. So I think that's kind of what I'm constantly just like trying, experiencing, and trying my best to evolve. I can't claim that I'm good at it, but I'm trying, and that's something I'm proud of.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, like you, I'm sure can't wait for this to be released, like the full project. You know, it's going to be a long road, but I'm sure it's going to pay off at the end. But as kind of doing the single by single, it's going to be amazing. So anybody listening, once again, make sure you check it out. End of May, Omega Man. It's coming to a streaming platform near you. Pretty much all streaming platforms, or just predominantly Spotify?
All of them. I mean, dealer's choice. I personally am I guess most promoting Spotify, just because it seems to be what most people listen to, but it's also on, I don't want to say what most people listen to. It's what, it's the, it's actually
the streaming platform of choice, it seems to be.
Yeah. And it also is it's great for the artists. Like there are a lot of capabilities for artists on Spotify. So all that to say, it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music, it's on SoundCloud. Actually just had a premiere tonight, not to, spoiler alert, but tonight, if you go to v13.net, they just did a premiere write-up of Mind. And they actually have it streaming on SoundCloud right now. So maybe after this, if you're listening live, you can go check out the article on v13, V as in Victor, 13.net, and you can listen to the song.
Awesome. Can't wait. So before we wrap this up, something new that has come to the podcast that's been kind of an interesting train ride. We have a random question generator sitting right here on my phone. So if you're ready, we're going to run through a few of these and just see how wild it gets.
Let's do it.
It is a cold November night. What is your drink of choice?
Red wine.
Fair. If you had to write a blog post about something with not actually knowing anything about this said item or topic, what would you write about?
I don't know. How could I write about something I know nothing about?
What could you BS your way through, essentially, is what it's asking.
How to open a sandwich shop.
That works. If you could add 100,000 of something to your life, what would it be?
100,000 of something. Gosh. 100,000 hellos.
Works.
Books, hellos, I don't know. Tangible, non-tangible.
Yeah. What is a habit you are currently trying to break?
Constantly refreshing my email or social media, constantly checking it. Like it's all consuming. It can be.
Would you rather be able to mind control humans or machines?
Don't we already kind of mind control machines?
That's fair. If you were to give a TED Talk right now, what would it be about?
TED Talk. I think it would be about what are topics of TED Talks? Like anything? Does it have to be like?
It's pretty much just anything that you're into.
Yeah, I think maybe the the importance and exhaustion of setting boundaries and the importance of trying.
Perfect.
And how, it's an ever evolving process, this thing we call life.
We've got 3 more.
Okay.
What motto do you live by?
Two things. If not now, when? And nothing is good nor bad, but thinking that makes it so. And that is a quote from Shakespeare. Okay, and yeah, that's probably those are the mottos.
Cool. And if you were to take a fictional movie and turn it into a real life experience, what movie would it be?
Oh my gosh, Harry Potter. I mean, I guess it's almost like that's almost unfair because there are multiple Harry Potter worlds, and I mean there's a lot. So, but like imagine. Oh my gosh,
it would be legit. Yeah. And then if you could voice any cartoon character, who would it be?
If I could be the voice of a cartoon character?
Yeah, who would the cartoon character be?
Oh my gosh, I was just talking about how adult cartoons are such a hot market. But I don't know, probably like SpongeBob. So, or maybe like Patrick Star, just because it's like more like silly, but SpongeBob is very silly too. So,
yep. Yeah. I was just thinking about it the other day about SpongeBob and how I kind of missed that train. Because when SpongeBob came out, I was like 7th or 8th grade. And so it was kind of not my thing. I felt like I might have been too old for it.
Fair.
And then it just kind of started sneaking into school, into culture. And then we get to high school and it's like, oh, did you watch SpongeBob? And I'm like, you're a senior in high school. Why are you watching a kid's show? And it's like, SpongeBob's amazing. And I'm like, all right, fine. I'll succeed and just let you have your way.
Yeah, please do. What if you could be a voice of a cartoon character, who would it be?
All right, now I'm going to completely contradict myself. Phineas from Phineas and Ferb.
Okay. Why are you contradicting?
Because Phineas and Ferb I watched while I was in college.
Okay. All right. Fair.
I'm a man of many mysterious coincidences. So I but you know what? You've watched Phineas and Ferb when you're blackout drunk in college and you're in a room full of your best friends in the world and it's 4 a.m.
Right. Well, that's the thing. You could be watching or listening to David Attenborough and be entertained in that setup, right? It doesn't. You could be watching QVC. You could be watching infomercials about whatever. But I hear that, and I feel that. I too am very fortunate to have met my best friends in college and had fun nights with them. So
and so that's. I don't watch it as much anymore. Actually, I don't even think the series is on, but every once in a while, if I'm scrolling past the Disney Channel and I see it's on, I'll sit there for a few minutes and I'll watch an episode or two. So that's how it be sometimes.
There it is.
But yes, thank you so much for playing the, one of these years we'll come up with a name for this, like the Wheel of Death or something. I don't know.
Little extreme there, Tom, but fine. Thank you for having me. For anyone who's listening, you are here with Emily Gabriele. Follow me on Instagram or check out my website at EG Music NYC on Instagram, egmusicnyc.com for my website. And I'm here with Tom of Live and Amplified, and we just chatted about music things and some random rapid fire questions and cartoons. And, we kicked it off, I think, talking about Wordle. So go back, listen to this, and listen to my new project. No Mind coming out tomorrow, premiered this evening on v13.net. And yeah, tell me your thoughts. And Tom, can't wait to hear are you going to listen to it after this? I hope you do.
Yes, I'm going to make some dinner
Okay.
I've been on this kick recently where I make breakfast for dinner. I'm so addicted to breakfast
Love
that,
that.
yeah.
What are you going to make tonight then? What's your breakfast for dinner tonight?
It's going to be a breakfast scrapple. So I've got like a 4-pound bag of hash browns sitting in the freezer right now. So I'm going to throw some hash browns in the fryer, and then just because meat is so expensive right now, I buy sandwich meat and just kind of rip it up and throw it in there, and then throw some eggs on top, and it's a sound little meal. So
do you just do like with a fork or spoon, or do you have some like tortilla or bread or biscuit or something?
I did do like tortillas there for a long time, but it just doesn't hit the same. Like just eating it straight with the fork.
Cool.
You know, for whatever reason, every once in a while I'll go to the store and I'll get like, because I am in Texas, we can get homemade tortillas at HEB for next to nothing. So those are actually pretty good. When I can get to HEB and get them fresh, I will. But other than that, I don't bother with the tortillas because they're not as good.
Fair enough.
So
fair enough. Well, enjoy your breakfast for dinner. And once again, Tom, thank you so much for the opportunity to have this combo. And yeah, I guess, we'll talk soon. You'll tell me what you think of No Mind and all that fun stuff.
For sure. And as always, you're welcome back on anytime. And hopefully one of these years I'll actually get out to New York, but we'll see. Or well, I guess technically New Jersey, but
New York, New Jersey, it's like there's only a river between us over here. And some tunnels and bridges. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Yep. Thank you and have a good night.